Ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing? Boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's Saturday night, and as such, we have 2 full hours of the portal waiting for you. And thank you so much for spending a big part of your weekend here with us. That's always an amazing honor and one that we don't take lightly. And thank you so much for being here, because otherwise this would be a lot less fun. Without you, it would be a lot less fun. But I brought company. I brought the first branch on my family tree here with us tonight. I would love to put them on screen, but I can't because Microsoft, in all of their wisdom, decided to update things, and now nothing's working right. So, God, Microsoft, just leave things alone. Do me a favor. Don't touch anything. It's like Microsoft's like the nosy neighbor that you hate to let into your house, and then next thing you know, your furniture is getting moved around, and I don't know if it's a nosy neighbor's the right description, but oh my God, it drives me crazy because it happens all the time that companies think that they're improving things, and what they do is they just screw them up and they make everybody's life miserable. So Microsoft, in another brilliant move, thank you so much for absolutely pissing me off before the show. But anyway, Sheldon is here. How you doing, Sheldon?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. Good to see everyone piling on in, and that's okay. Just think of me as your conscience.
You're our conscience. You're like our Jiminy Cricket for the night.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm really glad you were able to make it and be a part of the journey tonight, even though you're in spirit only, as it's like we're just channeling you or something. But
pretty much.
But I appreciate you being here, and thank you for spending part of your night with us as well, Sheldon.
But of course, it's always a pleasure to come here and to have discussions with everyone. That's my favorite part.
Oh, good. Well, good, because we got a little bit of discussions to have, that's for sure. And the first thing we should discuss is to take a moment and thank the Paranormal Portal sponsor, Cryptid Coin, ladies and gentlemen. And Cryptid Coin is a brand new cryptocurrency that's hit the market, and it gives you as investors an opportunity to invest in the cryptid research in the cryptid community itself. Now, by that, I mean they're taking a large portion of the cryptid coin, holding it in trust, and using it to generate grants for cryptid research teams around the world. So if you want to see if maybe you can invest in this, by all means, please do. I'm not pretending to give investment advice. Obviously, I'm not the guy you'd go to if you wanted to know investment advice, but I do love what they're doing at Cryptid Coin because they are really investing in the cryptid research community itself, and I think that's going to move the needle ahead for all of us as enthusiasts. So to look into Cryptid Coin for yourself, or if you belong to a team and want to see if maybe you guys could get a research grant yourself, then head over to cryptidcoin.io. Again, cryptidcoin.io for more information. And special thanks to Cryptid Coin for sponsoring the Paranormal Portal. Really excited about that. So let me go back. I gotta think of which camera to click now, since you're not on any of them. It changes my rhythm.
It wouldn't be the Paranormal Portal without some technical issues at the beginning. This is just the standard. We're living up to the standard.
I'd be happy if that wasn't the case, though. I just feel full transparency. I'd be good with it not being the case, but it is the case tonight, so we'll just deal with it because, quite honestly, by the time I became aware of the problem, we were launching the show. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So there was no time to adjust in any other way than to just do it this way. But what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I thought, hey, how about we do some news, Sheldon?
Oh, that's a perfect idea.
You have such great enthusiasm. That's awesome. You make me young again, lad. All right, here we go. Let's head into the news, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. And I looked for some news tonight, but we kind of ran out of the fresh stuff. So I had to dive into the trunk of archives and find some real good zingers and really, really weird, stupid stuff to share with you tonight. So we're going to get into some of those stories right now, right here on the broadcast. So the first story on the board tonight, I didn't even read this one through, so I don't know what we're dealing with, but
nice.
it was a great headline. So I was like, we probably should read this one. And it is from unexplained-mysteries.com from their archives of May 6, 2014. Croatian is the world's luckiest and unluckiest man. That's the headline. The Croatian is world's unluckiest man. And let's find out just what happened here. His name is Frank Selak. Has cheated death more times in the last 40 years than James Bond and Jack Bauer combined. Born in 1929, Selak's life had been generally unremarkable up until 1962, when his miraculous escape from a train crash kick-started a lifetime of bizarre accidents that seemed to follow him wherever he went. In 1963, the engines of a plane he had been traveling on suddenly stopped, sending the aircraft plummeting towards the ground. Everyone on board the plane died except for Selak, who, having been sucked out of a faulty door several thousand feet in the air without a parachute, somehow managed to land perfectly on top of a haystack, leaving him only with minor injuries. Wow. His bizarre streak of good-bad luck would continue over the next few decades as he endured being hit by a bus, skidding off the road in another bus, then having his car catch fire twice while he was driving it. In one incident, he even swerved off the side of a 300-foot cliff and managed to survive by hanging onto a tree branch. Having lived through so many disasters, Selak is finally rewarded by a definitively positive stroke of luck when in 2003 he bought a lottery ticket for the first time in 40 years and immediately won the jackpot of $1 million. Wow, that's a great end to that.
God.
That's crazy. See, ever see? Wasn't that a movie? That was a movie, right? Where these people were supposed to die, but they just kind of found a way out of it, and didn't
Final
die.
Destination.
Final Destination. There you go. And then the rest of the movie is death coming for them, right?
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like his guardian angel and death having a massive argument.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was like arm wrestling match, and it was not good. Wow. There you go. So, pretty interesting all the same. What am I missing?
Ruger Ridge.
What did he say?
You don't have to work under these conditions. I would contact the union.
Well, as much as I'd like to put Sheldon on the screen, I just can't. It doesn't matter if the union's involved or not, man. It's Microsoft. Just aim your hate at Microsoft. It works for me. It's at least how I'm channeling all of this currently. So, but thank you, Ruger, for that. I appreciate you starting angst and disruption of my show. So nice. Friends like you, I don't need no enemies. All right, let's go to the next one here, and this is also from unexplained-mysteries.com from the archives, and this is from April 21st, 2014. Cosmetics firm in bid to lighten the moon. To lighten the moon. I don't know. It's weird. Okay. It says the company wants to make the moon brighter for the purpose of lowering global energy usage. Oh my God. What the hell's wrong with these people? It's not like
put glitter on the moon.
I know it's not like there's a switch somewhere. You just got to crank up a little bit. The bizarre concept has been put forward by the Forio Institute, a think tank, who've come up with the unfathomable idea to use materials already on the moon to make the surface reflect more sunlight. God, just get these people away from anything electric. The purpose of the endeavor would be to make it slightly lighter and night back on Earth, which in turn would mean less energy consumption and a reduction in harmful carbon emissions. There's a mental illness at work here. There really is. We want to raise public awareness about the project and generate consciousness about the global energy crisis, said Forio's CEO Paul Peros. The company so far raised $52 million. Why don't they just put that towards energy bills? That would help.
Yeah.
From unknown investors and plans to send a rover to the moon by 2020. According to Peros, they would only need to transform an area the size of Switzerland on the lunar surface to achieve the desired effect. What are they going to put, a rover like dragging a rake, or what are they thinking here? This is all kinds of dumb. It's not just like they got to sweep it up a little bit. Whether the company is actually serious about attempting to do this, however, remains uncertain. It's very possible that the whole thing is little more than a clever marketing exercise. I sure hope so, because if not, that means we're dealing with a whole different level of stupid here.
It's like trying to kill a spider with a grenade.
Yeah, exactly. What else are they going to do? Put mirrors all over to make sure the moon's shining bright all month long? It's like, no, it's going to be dark anyway most of the time, right?
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
Oh, this is really...
Plus, I mean, there's one simple, clouds. There's clouds.
Yeah, well, there'll be big fans in the upper atmosphere to take care of that.
Oh, yeah, true. You're right.
Yeah, this is like Wile E. Coyote's environmental solutions. Wow, that's really tragic. Oof. I don't know what the hell people are thinking. Just leave it alone. It's worth
that's
this
serious.
fine. If that's serious.
Yes, if that is a serious thing they're actually doing and it's not a scam type of thing. Yes.
Well, it's a scam, all right. They got $52 million on it already, so somebody didn't need a lot of money.
That's hard to believe. This is actually a paranormal story.
It is paranormally stupid. Jesus. Oh, all right. Well, let's get to the next one and see just how further down the drain we can go here on one episode of the Portal. This next one is coming from the archives again, but this if you ever have a place that would be, this belongs right next to that first story of the unlucky man. This might be the unluckiest family.
Oh, no.
And this is family's car catches fire in lion enclosure.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is the wrong place to have a fire in your car. A day out in the safari park for Helen Clements and her family turned into something out of a nightmare. Clements and her 2 children had been driving through the lion enclosure during their first ever visit to Longleat Safari Park, where their car started to overheat and subsequently burst into flames.
Oh, no.
It's like somebody just fired up the grill is what that is.
Yeah, for the lions, yeah.
Yeah. As thick black smoke started to pour from the vehicle, park rangers rushed into the enclosure and ordered them not to try getting out of the area until it was safe. It could have been in the flamingos or the camels, but no, it had to be in the lion enclosure, said Clements. Thankfully, the rangers were able to usher the family to safety while the lions were kept at bay. Witnesses praised the fast response of the staff to emphasize how easily the situation could have taken a turn for the worst. I can laugh about it now as it's only a car and we're all safe, says Clements. Wow. Yeah, somebody hates you at that point. It's like, I'm sorry, God, whatever I did, I'm so sorry.
Oh, my God.
That is just such a bad run of luck. Oh, yeah. I mean, it couldn't have been at the Guppy exhibit or something. It was in the lion cage. Perfect place. Oh no, this poor people.
Oh.
That's about as bad a time to break down as any. But that's worth remembering, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's a memorable family vacation.
Well, Sheldon, you ever heard of some strange diets? People dieting, using weird things, and
yeah,
or even people eating weird things. Like there's this thing called the geophage where people like eat dirt, like they like to eat dirt.
Oh yeah, yep. I've heard of yeah.
And I guess it gets down to like a mineral deficiency, but and maybe that's part of it for everybody. But I'm not sure what this guy's deficient on, other than possibly brain cells.
Oh, no.
This one is from the unexplained-mysteries.com archives from April 12th of 2014. Indian man is addicted to eating bricks.
I'm not even going to say how. I'll just
nope.
Yep.
But
all
just
right.
remember, Sheldon, you are what you eat, right? This is
brilliant.
This might be true. This guy might be what he's eating. Paki Rappa Hanagundi suffers from a rare condition that sees him crave bricks, gravel, and mud. Known as pica, the unusual ailment sees the sufferer crave I just can't think about him chewing on a brick. Oh my God.
I was trying to.
It's making my mouth hurt. And there's a picture of him doing it too. He's like, nah, like it's a Whopper in the drive-thru or something, man. He's got a big brick.
It's actually intimidating, that picture of him.
It is, yeah. You think of like zombies or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He must just have nubs for teeth. I mean, they can't even be teeth anymore, right?
Yeah.
Teeth aren't meant to chew on bricks. Oh,
no.
God. I want to go brush my teeth right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It says, I only like mud and bricks, nothing else. Well, there you go, says Haragundi, who has lived on the peculiar diet for most of his life. I'll eat it because it is my habit. I need it every day. I can't stop. What the hell? The 30-year-old eats an average of 1 brick a day and several kilograms of mud and gravel. That helps wash it down, Sheldon.
Just 1 brick a day, guys.
Just one. Yeah.
Just 1 brick a day.
His paleo diet is like styrofoam. His friends and family have attempted to get him to stop, but he's either unwilling or unable to do so. Even if you give me fried chicken, I want mud at any cost, he says.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, that picture just gives me the chills. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, next story. Let's move along. Nothing to see here. I got to close that window. It's creeping me out. Okay. Let's go to the next one, Sheldon. It's got to get better from there, right?
Oh, God, I hope so.
Here's another in the, probably lucky category, but maybe the lucky category. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is coming from April 4th, 2014. And skydiver narrowly avoids meteorite collision. What are the odds?
Wait, what?
Like he's skydiving and a meteorite almost hit him.
Oh my God.
Anders Hellstrup had been parachuting over Norway when he was almost hit by a falling space rock. The chances of being struck by a meteorite are infinitesimally small, yet Hellstrup came perilously close when one whizzed past him during the skydive 2 years ago. At the time of his descent, the parachute hadn't actually observed the falling meteorite at all. It was only when he later reviewed footage recorded by the 2 cameras he had mounted on his helmet that he noticed the rock falling next to him. Oof. Perplexed by the footage, Hellstrup consulted with experts who revealed that the rock appeared to be a meteorite that had been cooled and slowed down by the atmosphere. It was the first time such an object has ever been caught on camera while falling. The race is now on to find where the object hit the ground. There is a forest with lots of different places it can easily disappear, said Hellstrup. Even if there are several areas where it would be found easily, there is a river, some marshy spots, and areas and lots of high grass. Therefore, the best chance of a finding would be in springtime, but we have high hopes. I guess you'd probably want it, right? That's like, hey,
yeah,
this came from space, I came from the airplane. Huh. I don't know.
Wow.
That's a strange story. Very strange.
Yeah, that's basically the equivalent of 2 people blindly shooting a bullet in the air randomly and almost hitting each other. That's actually crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's just a bunch of astronomical odds coming together at the right time or wrong time. I don't know. Here's a story right out of. I think this would be a little terrifying, but I don't know. I haven't read it. I just saw the headline and went, "Ooh, this sounds creepy." And I don't know what they mean by giant rat, but let's read what it says. This is from Unexplained-Mysteries Archives, March 31st, 2014. And this is Giant Rat Terrorizes Family in Sweden. Yep, a giant rat. The huge 16-inch long rat. That's a huge rat. That's a lot of rat. Managed to chew its way into their kitchen through a ventilation pipe. The massive rodent is believed to have made itself at home behind the kitchen sink, where it continued to grow in size thanks to practically unlimited amount of leftover food scraps. It was right there in our rubbish bin, a mighty monster, said Sinye Bengston. I was petrified. I couldn't believe such a big rat could exist. I couldn't help but do the old classic and jump up on the kitchen table and scream. The huge rat was eventually caught after an exterminator laid out heavy-duty traps in the kitchen. No one wanted to go into the kitchen after, added Bergsten. The cat was terrified for about a week. Yeah, that's like the Tom and Jerry where like Jerry gets his cousin and it's this big beefy rat that comes in and chases Tom. Yeah. Oh.
I thought I saw a video or something, like maybe it was a year or two ago, but it had said something like as far as like in New York, as far as the article was saying, they have like giant rats, and I'm not sure if the point of the article is that rats are getting like bigger in certain areas or if I don't know.
Well, I know there's those what the hell are they? Capybaras or Pakibaras or something. There's these South African rats that I guess they'd made their way up into Florida now, and we're working their way up, but they're like a huge version of rats. Like they're huge. I don't know. I can't remember the name of them though, but anyway, they're like about the size of a beagle, you know. I mean, they're like a big big rat, but they're from South America. But I think I had heard that they were being found in Florida. And so maybe that's what people in New York were experiencing as well. And it probably could be because you think, well, you know, I mean, usually these things start by some idiot got a pet and then realized he couldn't take care of it. So he let it go be free, you know, which means like the sewer system or something where all the alligators are too. But I don't know.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. That's creepy. Whatever it is. And, you know, I've heard stories of big rats, and this is a long time ago, back to when like I was a kid, you know, down in Wakuta there was a story up at my great aunt's house that she had a huge rat up there, and it was like really big. So I guess maybe just like everything else, they get like some genetic misfires that they're huge, you know, and it's just a natural possibility, maybe. I don't know.
Well, yeah, actually, you're right. I mean, there's a giant of pretty much everything out there, giant versions of it. So, you know what? That's a good point.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if they are getting bigger, then that's troubling, you know, to say the least. That's not what you want to hear about your rats, anyway. You know, because rats can be fierce. They can actually be ferocious. Like they'll. I mean, they're not like little dinky mice that run away, squeak, squeak. Rats can get pissed and like change their mind, you know, and get aggressive. So especially if they're sick, you know, and then you got a whole different kind of problem on your hand. But yeah, not the trifling kind of stuff. Let me take a look at the clock here and see how we're doing. We're doing really good. Perfect time management on my parts, if I do say so myself. But we got one more story to get through here, and by God, that's what we're going to do. And this one is also coming from the archives of unexplained-mysteries.com. It's a great site. Please check them out. Go support what they're doing. It's unexplained-mysteries.com, and check it out. But this is kind of interesting. This makes me think, what are we really capable of? Okay? Because we all think that we have a specific skill set, and it varies from person to person, what kind of skill set each individual has. But this is a story about, from March 21st, 2014, woman gains drawing ability after head injury. It says, up until the incident, Pip Taylor was almost completely useless at drawing and sketching. The 49-year-old had always enjoyed drawing, but was never very good at it. Even her teachers at school recommending against pursuing a career in art.
Oh my God.
This would all change, however, when Taylor fell down some stairs at a racetrack 2 years ago and sustained serious bruising to her brain. Incredibly, while recovering from the ordeal at home, she picked up a sketch pad and discovered that she was suddenly able to draw really well. Instead of the amateurish sketches of her past, she found she could create detailed and highly realistic pencil drawings. It was just extraordinary. I've always loved drawing, but it was never any good, she said, and it felt really natural in a way it hadn't before. I began to realize that I had a real skill in being able to copy things accurately. Concerned that the ability might not last, Taylor's now drawing as much as possible while she still can. Medical experts have expressed caution over her story, but are unable to explain how her brain injury could have resulted in such a remarkable talent. Well, that's kind of cool, but you know, you hear stories about like and I don't like the term at all because it just sounds horrible, but idiot savants, those people that are so severely brain limited that they can't function normally, but they can sit down and play Mozart on the piano.
Yeah.
That maybe it's inside of all of us. Maybe we all have an ability like that, but this person just needed to fall down some stairs to find it. That maybe if the right damage happens to your brain, suddenly you could be doing Einstein math. You hear stories like that. So what are we capable of? Well, maybe anything. Just a thought. There's the bell. We're going to close out the news here. We'll be right back. Just a couple minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. We are in the second half hour of our 2-hour journey, so we're in the end of hour number 1, last segment. And then will come, of course, hour number 2. So lots of things to get through here tonight as we roll through the evening. And just going to take a minute and let's see who's here, shall we? And over on TFR, we've got Bam, Gemini, and Great Guest over there. Thank you, guys, for being here. Bam says, good to see you. I'm lazy tonight. Well, that's good. Good to see you. I'm okay with lazy. Lazy's good as long as it means you're here. That's a good kind of lazy. Yeah. And let's take a look at the YouTubes and find out just who's here. I think we have more here than are talking, but the people that are actually chatting are the ones that'll get the shout out. And that's Android Purity. Gigi is here. Carrie Brennan is here. Good to see you. Maggie M10. Monogard Nash is here. I'm here. Rachel Gets It Right is here. Ruger Ridge is here. Ruthie Castro is here. Sheldon Thomas is here. And Tracy Linnell. Trace Linnell. Good to see you guys. Thanks so much for coming in. And if you didn't get a shout out, it's because you're not typing. And unfortunately, YouTube only gives me the people that are typing. Uh-oh, something changed. What happened? Oh,
ISU Reloaded.
ISU Reloaded is in here. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And T just popped in. It's just his whole name. The person's name is T.
Nice.
The unknown just popped in. Good to see you. Thank you guys for coming in. That's great. And I'm all for 1-letter names too. That works fine with me. But yeah, great to see you guys. Thank you so much. And go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
As it pertains to the last stories that we read. And for people that experience such bad luck, like and not as much the family, but that one person even. The one person who had like horrible luck but was saved, horrible luck was saved. What do you think could be a paranormal reason as to why people would experience over a long period of time that much bad luck? Even,
Well, I don't know. It's, there's something about curses that I think there can be a genuine phenomena. And essentially, if you break it down, of course, any kind of ritualistic thing is basically directing energy towards someone for a given purpose. Now, hopefully those reasons are good and just and are helpful and will bring the person to a better place. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're cast in anger, and can those things actually influence the conditions of a person's life? And I think they can. I don't know if it's necessarily being subordinate to it, but it's another influence in our lives. So what if it's a curse? Maybe so. What if it's something dark and wanting to cause that person problems, like they got an attachment of some sort? That could be something as well. I suppose that could bring negative things to fruition in your life to try to cause you grief and problems. Other than that, I don't know. That's a really big question, honestly. But those are a couple of ideas that I could throw at it. I guess if I was looking for paranormal causations for something like that, maybe it's something else. I don't know.
Could be a poltergeist even too, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Like if it's attached to a person.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say poltergeist, but it could be. Certainly poltergeist experiencers go through a lot of hell if it's a genuine situation, but it could be demonic, could be dark, could be many different kinds of negative spiritual presences that could try to target a person over and over to cause problems in their life, to weaken them, if you will. But just some guesses. I guess if I was going to throw some guesses at them, that's what I would say.
The unknown said, I have something to say / add about bad luck.
Oh, please do.
And now we're just waiting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we'll be waiting for that something to say for sure.
Android says a negative mindset attracts negative things, just like positive minds attracts positive things in life. Your life is what you make of it.
Very good point. Yeah, we do manifest. Yeah. We do manifest our reality, and there is that as well. And even in the case of like curses or attachments, I mean, if you always, I believe, have the ability to take the lead and just say, no, I refuse these influences in my life. And, whether through an act of a prayer or through an act of cleansing and just shielding, whatever you want to call it, I think we can always reclaim our lives. We're not at the whim and mercy of other forces unless we allow it, So there's that.
Our perception matters.
Yep. GG manifests like a mofo. Okay. Well, way to roll. But yeah, I guess, it's anybody's guess for sure, but those are just some ideas. So, but thank you. I appreciate you guys contributing to that as well. Great points.
Apparently Chad wants me to go into a field. I don't know why.
Keep
saying over there, we got to put Sheldon in the field.
Oh, no, I think Android's talking about the Minnesota Bigfoot encounter, but that's actually from, I think, like 2014 or earlier, isn't it? Android, isn't that when it's been around for a long time? But there is in northern Minnesota, well, anywhere in Minnesota there could be Bigfoot. To be honest with you, it's a lot of agriculture and stuff, but they don't seem to be like Bigfoot. Don't seem to be beholden to maps and such. They just go wherever the hell they want to go, and they seem to be able to traverse any terrain and remain unnoticed anywhere they want to be. They want to get to, or noticed if they want to as well. But yeah, Minnesota.
Carrie also asks manifestations, ? So maybe for people who don't know what you mean by manifesting.
Well, so manifesting can be as simple as saying, I'm going to have a good day today, and you have a good day today because you made it your point. But I think it's much more profound than that. I think that we do manifest our worlds. We do manifest our experiences to a strong degree. This is my personal belief, and I don't pretend it has to be anyone else's, but essentially what we believe will come to fruition for us. In other words, if you believe that you are blessed and that you are guided and protected, then you will be, because that's the reality that you exist in, and will manifest that in your world. And whether that means that your acknowledgement of it allows the higher power to work through you much better, or if it's of your own nature, I can't pretend to know. That's, things that only the divine can answer. But it could be that, we can create our experiences. We can change negative things into positives by manifesting that energy or transmuting the energy in some manner or by some measure. And so it's all of those and more. It's just to put it in a nutshell. That's what I mean by manifesting. So again, this is my truth. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. I could be absolutely wrong for all of you guys, and you guys may disagree with that, but that's my truth. So
yeah. For anybody that's new here, we're not experts. We don't know what we're talking about, but we're Sorry.
It's a strong start.
I was going somewhere
really
and then it just disappeared, and I had it disappeared.
Yeah. We basically, the portal will always be a discussion. It's a dialogue, and I like discussing ideas and thoughts and possibilities. Nobody claims to. Well, a lot of people claim to have the answers, but here we don't claim to have the answers. We just want to have the discussion to see if we can come to some kind of better understanding of what's going on in this world, whether it's paranormal or spiritual or otherwise. But excuse me. Yeah, that's manifestation. I think there's a lot of something to it. Personally, I do.
Yes.
What in the hell is this?
Yeah, Android hit on that. There's no paranormal portal. There's no portal. Oh my God. There's no paranormal experts. Only paranormal researchers and paranormal enthusiasts.
Yeah. We're kind of a hodgepodge of different thoughts and ideas, but by God, we're a family here. And you're welcome to be a part of the family. If you're not already, please get subscribed if you're on YouTube. We'd love to have you stick around and continue to come back and be a part of what we're doing. So we're going to go to a site called Money Awaits and visit some stories here. This is people share their unexplained stories of being in a place that shouldn't exist. Covered a few of these last night, and they are pretty spectacular, pretty wild stories of people finding themselves in areas they didn't expect to be in or didn't know they could be in, or just new areas altogether, or where things didn't make sense. Like they went to a whole different dimensional manifestation of reality. Who knows? But we're going to get into these. I like these stories. Hold on.
Oh, the unknown says that he'll send you He'll write down his bad luck experience and send it to you.
Oh, very good. Yeah. I mean, not very good. I'm sorry you've had bad luck experiences, but I appreciate that you're willing to send them in. Yeah. Sorry. I should be careful how I phrase things here. So, oh, did you have something bad? Tell me all about it. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not usually an idiot, but I play one on TV. All right. Here we go. This is some stories of people who were visited places that they shouldn't exist. 19 is the one we're on. This guy drove through a David Lynch film. I don't know what a David Lynch film is, but must be quite a film. I was relocating across Texas, and as I normally do, was driving through the night just to skip traffic and because it's more serene that way. I was driving straight through central Texas going northwest. So seeing the hill country change to desert in the full moon was super cool. Anyway, I was driving with my now ex-wife. Oh, that's too bad. And we were running low on gas. Luckily, we were pulling into a tiny no-name town, and we could see an old gas station come around the bend. This encounter happened at about 2 a.m. Now, this town only has one road, and this station was right in the edge of town at the end of it. When I say old, I mean very old. The type that you have no option of prepaying or simply flip up the handle on the machine and you hear the pump inside start, struggling to get gas from the reservoir. It had the old style tick readers too, not a thing electrical on it. I, being the young man I was, had never seen one before, so I walked into the store to buy the gas before I pumped, and the store only had one light in the far back, and I almost thought it was closed since it was barely brighter inside than it was out in the moonlight. Upon entering, I saw the place was deserted. No customers, no workers, nothing. However, there was an odd tune playing on someone's radio that I couldn't place. An old-sounding upbeat piano piece was playing somewhere around the corner inside, and I heard shuffling once I walked closer to the source. The place made me feel scared, not the, whoa, this is creepy scared, but the all hairs on end, something is seriously wrong here, but I can't figure it out scared. As I turned the corner, I saw a young man standing next to a large radio and dancing. His dancing, though, was extremely off-putting and seriously didn't match the tune at all. That's why he's the night shift, maybe.
Yeah.
Though the radio was cranking out what sounded like ragtime, this guy was running his hands up and down his body and pretty much feeling himself with his eyes closed in what looked like bliss. He was going far slower than the music and definitely wasn't on tempo. For some reason, I couldn't speak. I couldn't even move. I was in a trance as if every part of me screamed to turn and leave. Finally, I said, excuse me, just need some gas. But the guy kept on dancing. I said it a little louder, and he finally slowed down a bit, opened his eyes, and focused on me. But it was like he was looking at a finely cooked steak. He was looking almost through me and silently walked to the register, not saying anything. I said, just $20, please. He again didn't say anything and just stood behind the ancient register, so I just figured maybe he didn't speak the language or was embarrassed. I caught him dancing, so I laid the money on the counter and went outside, hoping he'd turn on the pump. I filled up, told my wife about the weird scene in there, and turned off the pump to kill the horrible grinding noise from the interior pump fighting against gravity to get the gas up. Weird thing is, when we were leaving, I looked back in the window and the guy was standing there behind the counter, and this may sound fine, but my money was still on the counter in front of him. It was like he was a robot who just turned off once I left. This is where it gets super weird. A couple months later, I was driving back to San Antonio to visit family, and we figured we'd stop at that old gas station to see it in the daytime since it had become somewhat of a running joke between us. We pulled into this tiny town and the thing was gone. The lot it sat on at the end of the road wasn't even there. It was just grass, no rubble, no old pump, no lighting, nothing. It was like somebody picked it up and moved it. It looked like nothing had been there for years. I still get freaked out thinking about it all. That was by Sterling __ Archer.
Wow.
How's that for creepy?
It's like something was assuming this is all true, something was sensing all of this, the odd, and something wasn't right, and that's interesting.
Now,
The hair standing up and whatnot.
right. And granted, as I was saying last night, I mean, you got to take a leap of faith whenever you take a story like this and go, well, is it real or not? Now, if you come to the conclusion it's not real, it's real easy, because then you just discard it. It's just, an entertaining story that lasted a few seconds and then it's over. It's done. It's gone. It was just the fabrications of a creative mind. What if it's real? What does that mean? What is the ramifications of this event? Let's say, for instance, we assume that it's absolutely real. What happened? What is being demonstrated here? What's going on? And what do you make of it? And that's where it gets a little uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I mean, whether it was phasing a portal or um, it could be a lot of things in this scenario.
Right. That's exactly right. It could be many things, but again, and that's the conundrum. If you don't believe it was real, it's real easy because you just let it go. It's over. But if it's real, you have to think about that and just go, what was going on? What was this incident? Was this a parallel dimension? Was this some fabrication by extraterrestrials just to see how people react and what they would do in a situation? Is it just some skewed version of reality that popped up? What is it? Is it a ghostly experience? Was it a manifestation of spiritual significance? What is it? And I don't know. These are the
There's
ones.
actually a good point you raise. Something with stories like this, I usually don't consider it.
Mhm.
Not that I write it off, I just don't even think about it. Is with these scenarios that it's linked to extraterrestrial aliens or that it could be testing us type of thing. I usually don't consider it. I think of it more spiritually, but I mean, there's nothing saying it couldn't be that either. Like, I mean, if we're a science lab to some alien civilization, I mean, it only makes sense they would experiment on us, see how we react to scenarios. So it also
Right.
could be that.
So the unknown kind of raises a good point, and he says there's a lot of stories of people seeing, for example, soldiers in the Civil War, as plain as day, but then they turn around and it's gone. And that's what's called a time slip, right? Where you see you have this time echo, and there's stories like that, even over in Europe and such, where people are in these ancient grounds walking around just doing the touristy thing, and suddenly there's a mounted army sitting in front of them. Now, the interesting take on that is that not only are the people seeing this for themselves, but judging by the reactions of what they're seeing, those mounted people seem to be aware of the observers as well. So it's like time just kind of collided, two time bubbles collided, and there was a moment that people were in both that time and their own, and these soldiers were in that time and ours, and it's like this bleed through, this crossover. And it's very strange. Now, in a situation like that, a time slip, it actually is much more straightforward because, the whole time thing, is it a vibration? Is it something else? And what differentiates our time and experience from other times? And perhaps it's frequency. So it might be just a matter of frequency. But the story like the gas station is a little harder because not only is it outdated that this person experienced an old place, but the person in it was acting so foreign to what we consider normal that it was also skewed behaviorally. Like it wasn't anything, that part didn't sync up at all, even though there was familiarity with this old outdated gas station. Everything else was not familiar. So it's just very strange, but great point. That's a great point, Unknown. Yep.
Android Purity says, but this ghost gas powered his car. I'm very skeptical.
Well, there is that, but what is?
I mean, gas is gas. It's like if it's like, let's say it's a time slip, or at one point in time there was a gas station that looked exactly like this. I mean, it still would be gas. Like gas is gas. It'd still power the car.
So the question is can things in a time slip experience, can things be moved from that time to our time? And in this case, the gas.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Does that work? And maybe, that's a good point. That certainly makes it a little if we're going to look at it from a time slip angle, then it makes it hard, because how did the gas move from that time into this time? And granted, I think that's a great question, and one that I certainly can't answer, but maybe just by virtue of entering that car, it changed its vibrational state. I don't know. But again, I can't just assume it's just a time slip, because the behavior was wrong. So that's why I'm thinking it's some kind of other manifestation, maybe by an extraterrestrial intelligence or something of that manner. I don't know, because the behavior was so off. It's just not a normal behavior. I mean, even if somebody's 50 years transposed, the behaviors of people are still going to be the behaviors of people. You may use different words and nomenclature and stuff, but it's still going to be people. So I don't know. Very weird. Very weird. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. I think we can get this one in. It's number 18, Just So Much Milk. That's a weird title. It says, when I was 12, my mom and I were traveling cross country to move, and we were staying the night in Missouri at a typical roadside hotel next to a chain diner. So we went in for dinner. It was packed, despite us being one of the only couple of guests at the hotel. So we sat up at the bar, and we noticed something weird after a few seconds. Every single person had a glass of milk in front of them. Even the dudes around the bar. Nothing else. Just a tall glass of milk. Someone opened the fridge under the center bar, and we saw just gallons of milk. The bartender took our dinner orders and brought us each a glass of milk without us asking for anything to drink. It was so weird. My mom told me not to drink it. On our way back to our room, my mom stopped at the front desk and asked the woman working there, half jokingly, half concerned, why everyone drinks so much milk in this town. The woman said she had no idea what she was talking about, and we just moved on. When we were putting our leftovers in the mini fridge up in our room, there were like 10 mini cartons of milk. No brand, just the word milk in black lettering. It was a weird place, and I've never been able to figure it out. There it goes. That's sweet. I don't know what sweet rhyme, pure reason. Okay, sweet rhyme, pure reason. So
that's sketchy for sure.
Would you drink the milk?
No, I would. No,
okay.
No.
Yeah, I'd be hoping I had a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of milk. Yeah. That's very strange. Very strange story.
Yeah, it's off. Another situation where it's just just weird.
Well, there are, I've heard stories like this through the years. People on these road trips and getting into car trouble and stuff, and then they make it just as far as this weird little diner sitting in a foggy expanse of the road where nothing's been on it for miles and miles in either direction. And then they get out, and the person's able to help them get their car running and gives them a bite to eat and stuff. And they go, and they're on their way back, and they want to stop in and thank them. And when they get back to that area, they find the diner, except it's about 80 years expired and rusted and fallen apart, dilapidated and abandoned. So what do you do? What's going on?
Rachel gets it right. Says, it sounds like another encounter with the Seelie or unseelie Fae folk.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm glad you've been bringing that up, because that one gets so easily overlooked. But what if it is an issue of Fae glamour or something like that? And I know a lot of people in our modern age think, oh, Fae, what are you talking about? Jeez, we're jumping the shark here on the portal. But the point is that these legends of these magical little diminutive folk that seem to have these abilities is as old as time. And it's also a global phenomenon. This is not something that was just, like we understand the Bigfoot phenomena as a global phenomenon. There's Yowies, there's Yeren, there's Grobrock, there's Woodwose, there's Bigfoot, there's skunk apes, there's, all these different things that represent a worldwide phenomena that we would recognize as the Sasquatch Bigfoot phenomena. Well, what about these other things? These other stories. I mean, can we just dismiss them because they don't fit with the narrative that we want? Or do we, if we're going to accept one, do we have to objectively look at the other ones as well? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying we have to or not, but I don't know how you can accept one on face value and then discard everything else.
I actually agree with you that, just because the narrative is focused on UFOs and more Bigfoot stuff doesn't mean we can't talk about or consider other myths, legends, mysterious creatures, and whatnot.
Right. Very strange stuff. But I love these stories for this reason, because I'll tell you what, some stories you cover so many times and they're fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but they're so easy to put in a category. They're so easy to put in a slot. Like, oh, that's a ghost experience. Oh, that's a UFO experience. Oh, you ran into a cryptid. But these are something else. All right, we're going to go to the hour break. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed. You break me down, you take me down. I'm not wrong, yeah. I'm not talking, yeah. I'm not talking, yeah. I'm not talking,
A nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, folks, we're gliding into hour number 2 already. It's cruised pretty quickly, but it's been an amazing journey so far. Hope you're having fun. Good to see you guys. Hello to all you guys that are out in the chats. That's awesome. Good to see you all. And special hello to our good buddy Nate Rudd, who's in the chat as well. He's a researcher himself and has been on the podcast and talked about some of their experiences. Really good stuff. And I'm looking forward to hitting the hills with the guys and seeing what I can see out there. There's some pretty cool things up in these mountains around here, folks. Let me tell you, I'm in the inland Pacific Northwest, so there's all kinds of habitat out there that would be absolutely ideal. Well, I don't know. I think that's another thing. I think they're pretty good at habitating wherever the hell they want to. They seem to be plenty flexible as far as that goes. But don't forget, I'm joined by channeling the spirit of Sheldon tonight. How you doing, buddy?
The conscience of Sheldon is doing great.
Yeah, this is Nate. This is my eldest child, Sheldon, who's joining me as co-host tonight on the show. We met Nate when we were over at Medellin Falls and at Squatch Fest. He was at both places. Great guy. Good times all around.
Well, great to unofficially meet you, Nate.
and good to see you, JG. I see you came in. Trace is here. I don't know if I said hello to Trace before, but I'm looking for any other names that popped up. Cosmic Fleur is here. But yeah, thank you guys for coming in. It's great. Always great to see the room expand with the bodies of those here to watch. But we are going through a list from actually a site called Money Awaits, which is weird because these sites are not normally paranormal sites at all. They just aggregate these Reddit threads and they put them together. And I think the motivation is quite honestly is because they find these niche interests of people, and then they put together these big aggregate articles full of all these Reddit pieces, and then they bury them in ads. so they just get a whole bunch of ads. But I use the Brave browser, and let me recommend that to any of you out there if you want to look at sites that may be kind of ad heavy. You can open them in the Brave browser and save yourself some pain and suffering, and probably more than a few of the cookies that they love to drop on your computer. So, but these experiences that are in this thread are people they have stories of being in a place that shouldn't exist. And we've talked about a few of them, and we're going to continue on this thread because, for one, I find it absolutely fascinating. Now, here's the thing again. So let's say I'm burning through this article. We cover 20 stories. And there is a point where you have to go, well, is that real or is that just a bunch of bunk? And maybe let's say we discard 99% of the stories, or 90% or whatever I'm not good with math. So, but let's say only one of these stories that I'm reading to you is true. The rest are just fabrications. That's still amazing. That means something happened that defies times, as we understand it, defies space. It defies our understanding of the universe around us because something poked in there that shouldn't have been there. So that's the thing. Now, I don't know. Maybe all of them are fake. Again, these are anybody's guess. They're kind of a leap of faith, really. They're supposed to be legit, but what that means on the internet. But in any case, they're great discussions. They're great discussion points. And I love talking about ideas on this show more than anything, because there's lots of strange stuff going on in this world, whether these stories are correct or not. I've had tons of my own experiences, as have many of you that have shared them on the show and through emails or messages with me. So I know you all know what I'm talking about. But here's number 17 is the one we're on now. We just covered all the milk in the last one. That is a weird one, though, right? It's like, everybody's drinking milk. It's like they love milk. Turns out they're all
the milkman.
They were all kitten people, or something. You don't know. I mean, what the hell else likes milk like a cat, right? So just being dumb. But anyway, number 17, gas stations are a hotbed for paranormal activity. I suppose they could be, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, it's as good as any, right? I still got your camera open, but unfortunately your camera's not working. So just imagine Sheldon's in this box right under me on the screen, and we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I'm the chair.
Yeah, thank you, Microsoft, once again for screwing up my night. But anyway, with your beautiful updates that tend to break everything else. A few years ago, I was driving home from Florida to Pennsylvania with 3 of my friends. It was late, probably sometime between 1 and 3 a.m., and we were somewhere in North Carolina. We needed gas soon, so we agreed to take the next exit off the highway that had a gas station. I hear that hissing? That's something from Skype. That beautiful Microsoft.
Yeah.
The second I took the exit, it was pitch black. There were no street lights along the exit ramp or on the roads up ahead. The only lights in the area came from my headlights and the lights from 95 behind us. The sheer darkness was enough to creep me out, especially because my vision isn't the best to begin with. But good thing you're driving. Give it to someone else. Let them have a turn.
True. What?
What are you driving for if you can't see? Anyway, especially because my vision isn't the best to begin with, but really sucks when it's dark. When we really needed gas, so we pressed on. While driving to the gas station, the only building we saw was a massive old-looking church. We drove by a sign informing us that we were in a town, but there were no businesses or houses other than the church. When we finally got to the gas station, we saw an assortment of giant farm animal statues outside the building, standing tall and barely illuminated. They weren't fenced off, and there was no signs explaining why they were there, so if it's considered an attraction, it's a confusing one at best. However, the weirdest thing happened inside the gas station. With me on this trip was one other girl and 2 guys. We had all been friends for years, but our dynamic includes making fun of each other a lot, but never deliberately messing with each other's heads. At this point in our trip, we're all tired and eager to get home. The gas station itself was huge on the inside, filled to the brim with shelves, all of which were jam-packed with an assortment of junk food and junk items. And in hindsight, this seems weird given how empty the town was, but at the time we were all distracted by just how much stuff this gas station had. The other girl and I went to the restroom while the 2 guys paid for gas, and the restroom was hard to get to as there were boxes piled just outside the door, and the sign had just a piece of paper with woman scrawled across it in green highlighter. Upon leaving the restroom, we saw that one of our friends entering the men's restroom, also marked by a piece of paper with men written in highlighter. He gave us a weird look as he entered, but we shrugged it off and walked towards the other end, our other friend rather, who we could see standing at a shelf a bit away. He was facing away from us, and as we approached, I started to get a bad feeling in my stomach. As we got closer, he turned and gave us the most sinister look I've ever seen. Alarm bells are going off in my head at this point, and my female friend and I proceeded to the car, unsure of what to make of the interaction we just had. The seconds we stepped outside and looked towards the gas pumps, we saw the same 2 friends we had just seen standing behind us. The one who was entering the bathroom was leaning casually against the car, while the other one who gave us the sinister look was finishing up pumping gas. My female friend and I were dumbfounded and asked them how they were standing in front of us when they were both just behind us a few seconds ago. Well, they looked at us like we had multiple heads. After paying for gas, The two immediately went back out to the car as the gas station gave off a weird vibe and to wait for us there. Sufficiently creeped out, we piled back in the car and noped out of there. I'm not sure why we saw two of my friends' doppelgangers in a gas station, or why the doppelgangers seemed to be in such a bad mood, and I'm really not sure why the gas station had a collection of farm animal statues outside of it. I'm pretty content never going there again, though that place definitely should not exist. That would buy neurons and coffee. Yeah, that's that's creepy.
Interesting.
So I don't know what to make of that one either. That's another. These are all very bizarre, very strange, because they really do seem like an episode of the Twilight Zone or something, what you'd expect to hear from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Good point. Why are gas stations a hotbed for these kind of activities?
I don't know. And maybe it's just the time of night. You know, that's of course the witching hours of like close to 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, even truckers, like their stories. Usually, it's at a rest stop or on the road. You know.
Yeah, but that's where they are. You know. I
yeah.
mean, so,
well, yeah, exactly.
But we have a good friend, a friend of the show, Mr. MCAT, who is a over the road trucker. And he's called in with several. He's shared several of his stories with us. And they are plenty creepy. I mean, he's seen some weird stuff. Let's get to the next one. Number 16. I did promise a milkshake. So back when I was younger, I was kind of a terrible kid to deal with being just totally unmanageable, as well as being a child of two narcissists. The decision was made that I would work on a huge ranch deep in the sticks of Arizona. Should be noted, I was a pretty accomplished equestrian rider at this time, so ranching wasn't really out of the realm of what I could do. On cattle drives, it was not unusual to stumble upon houses, encampments, and even whole towns also in the middle of nowhere. And these all had their own movie-like situations that came out of them, but one in particular I will never forget. We were on another cattle drive, this time pretty far into it, and we'd been out in the desert, if I remember correctly, easily 3 or more weeks when we stumbled on this town in the middle of a canyon. That is perfect picture. In addition, lo and behold, there is a diner. Like an old, totally chromed out East Coast diner. We had not eaten anything really of substance for a while, and the head wrangler promised me a milkshake for my birthday. Well, I was beyond stoked, if not a little weirded out, but honestly, after you spend enough time in the wilderness of the U.S., nothing really surprises you. So we leave behind some of our mates to watch the cattle, who are resting in the shade after getting over this rocky wash, and hike into the canyon to go to the diner. The second we set foot in the diner, the head guy, the older cowboy who is the head of all of us, grabs my arm. This place is packed, and everyone is wearing odd clothing, like stuff from maybe the 40s or 50s. My head wrangler, T, is a really tough guy who, from ranching for his entire life, had definitely seen some weird stuff. T grabs my arm as I am just focused on milkshake and about to go grab a booth, when I realize everyone is just staring at us and there's this really strange feeling in the air. Now, we were used to getting looks all the time from being smelly and dirty, but these people had these almost fear and or shock. T and 2 others with us slowly back out of the diner, dragging me in tow, and we immediately go back to our site and leave without a word. I was so confused, I just went along with all of it. To this day, I have no idea what that place was, or if we stumbled through a time warp or what, but my wrangler told me later, that night when we were away from them, that he felt like we had stepped back in time. Like truly stepped back in time. And that place was stuck in some sort of loop. And if we stayed, we would get stuck too. T never really spoke a lot, nor was he to be messed with. And he also had a mean sweet tooth, despite having almost no teeth. So for him to have reacted that way really shook me. I have no idea if what he told me is true, but I will never forget the look of all those people in that immaculate diner. Wow.
Indeed.
Isn't that something, right? Wow.
I mean, it's another story of like phasing into another time.
Now,
or
this
dimension of another time, whatever.
Yep. So this one does sound like a time slip. Like it's just, there's There's a famous situation actually in Liverpool, England, where several people have experienced a very similar phenomena, and that is they'll be going through the streets in this one area of the town, and sometimes people end up taking a step back in time into like the 50s, and they'll see like they're looking for a bookstore, and it's actually a garment store, and people are dressed weird and strange, and then they'll go out a door and boom, they're back in their normal time. But it's these kind of things. I think there's something to this that, again, is it, if time is indeed a vibration, if it's a frequency, and we're in this time because we're all resonating at this similar frequency, what if something that had happened that's overlapped frequencies and just made it similar enough that you could actually see and experience another time? And I think there's something to that. I really do. I think that this is a real phenomena, however rare or unlikely it is to either experience or find it yourself. I do think that these things may very well happen. And I think that's bizarre, very bizarre.
Yeah, Marley Jane in chat says, I wonder if there are time slip stories to the future. Yeah. That's a good question.
Yep. We've covered some on the show. There's one in particular, the two 20-somethings were out in a car driving around, and their car broke down. They were traveling from some place to another place, and they broke down. And it was an area that they were somewhat familiar with, but they went over the rise. And when the town they were expecting to see was suddenly way futuristic with these flying cars and things going around them. And they realized that they were actually looking at a moment in the future. There's several of them like that we've covered. So for everyone that we've covered that people are going back into an earlier time, there's also several that are talking about doing leaps forward and seeing what hasn't yet come to pass. And again, you have to decide for yourself whether you want to subscribe to that or not, because quite honestly, I can't tell you. But just for the number of stories that are out there, are they all wrong? Are they all fabrications? Well, you be the judge, is all I can tell you. But I tend to believe that these things probably really do happen. I think that in some cases, honestly, a lot of ghostly phenomena is a lighter version of that. Whereas the people are seeing these apparitions from another time. But sometimes those apparitions are seeing the people and acting surprised to see them. So is it maybe not fully manifest as an actual time slip, but it's a peak or just a resonance of another time period coming through. And so people experience those as ghostly experiences,
But you know what the cool thing is about that is that means we can trigger or interact with these time slips, portals, all these, like, we can resonate at the right time with the right frame of mind, whatever causes these things to happen to us. It's pretty cool to know that we can interact with that.
It is, but it's also kind of scary too, right? So what if you get stuck? What if you got stuck in the wrong time?
And that could even explain the, some missing people. Maybe they slipped, but they didn't slip back.
Yeah, maybe there's several stories that we've talked about like that I often think might be some of what's going on in David Paulides' Missing 411 series, is that there does seem to be, for lack of a better term, these portals that may naturally open and close, and whether or not there's some intelligence behind them or not, I don't know. But people have talked about walking through the forest, making a turn in a place that they go all the time, and suddenly they're in a different forest completely. Like it might be tropical, or it might be more like an arid desert plain suddenly. And it doesn't make sense because they were just in the forest. So could that be happening in some of these other, the Missing 411 things? Like people are just gone. But I will say with David Paulides' work, generally they find some trace of the people at some point, whether it's, just a pair of shoes sitting neatly on a rock when, it's this impossibly rough terrain where somebody would not go barefoot, and suddenly their shoes are there, or finding the person's body later without their shoes, but their socks are absolutely pristinely clean. Those kind of things don't make sense, in this traditional just time slip kind of thing. But something's going on. It's very, very weird. But I love these stories. I just think they're so interesting. Oh, that hissing is really driving me crazy.
I do hear it.
I'm going to try disconnecting from the network quickly. So just hang in there, folks. I'm just going to, for those of you on YouTube, you won't even notice this, but I'm just going to disconnect that and reconnect it and see if we can get this reconnected nicely.
Oh, hey there, Han.
What do you mean? What? Oh, yeah, you're there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Why isn't it? Oh, I got to do this, don't I? There we go. Let's do this and add. Okay, looks like we're back, and it's silent. Yay! There's no noise.
All right.
Okay, no more hissing noise. But let's get to the next one here. This is number 15. Even Africa knows how to get spooky. Yeah, I don't think. I
would imagine so.
Yeah, they've been at it for the longest, I'm sure. But back in the day, my dad had a company that rented out 4x4 vehicles to foreigners who wanted to explore rural Africa. But these cars were kitted out for off-road and barely broke down. But this time one did. My dad had to retrieve the vehicle as he's done a few times before, and since we lived in the neighboring country, it wasn't more than a 20-hour drive. We live in Cape Town, South Africa, and the vehicle broke down in Namibia. To my delight, my dad was setting off to retrieve this 4x4 in the upcoming school holiday and just asked me to join him. I should add that I was about 16 at the time, and the ghost stories never really got to me. So we set off on our long journey, and the trip goes smoothly as planned. We get to the collection point, hook up to the broken down 4x4 to ours, and off we go. No problems at all. Until it turned dark. Now, I know Namibia quite well. It has some well-known ghost stories, ghost towns, and other eerie occurrences have been reported, but in my mind, that was all just fantasy. Fast forward to about 2:30 a.m. Remember, kids, nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And my dad wakes up with noticeable uneasiness in his voice. He asked me to look in the rearview mirror and tell me what I see. I look in the mirror and notice two dim headlights almost on our rear bumper that appear to be bouncing around a bit. My dad told me he wanted to make sure that I see it too, and it wasn't just his tired eyes playing tricks on him. I look around, and the area we were in was terrifying, to say the least. We were surrounded by hills, but because of the lack of light, it was just pure blackness against the night sky, covered in leafless trees with pointy, sharp branches all over. I asked my dad where we were, and he simply said that he doesn't know. He'd just been following the GPS and asked me to look if there were any towns near. Well, there wasn't, not for more than 300 kilometers. He pointed back in the mirror and said, "Look." He then proceeded to shift over to the center of the road to the other lane, and the lights followed suit without hesitation, as if they were tied to us. I asked my dad what it was, and he said that he thinks it's a truck. Now, that in and of itself is not totally uncommon on these long cross-country roads, but something about this just seemed off. I mentioned to my dad that the truck may simply want to pass us. We were pulling quite a bit of weight, so we're way under the speed limit at this point, and he could be impatient, but Dad decides to slow down to 60 kilometers per hour and moves into the yellow line in an attempt to get this truck to pass. Nope. Truck slows down too. Okay, let's take it down a notch. Dad slows down to 40 kilometers per hour. Nope, same result. We had to drop down to the speed of 20 kilometers per hour for this truck to start overtaking us. And then it did. We heard a groan and the grinding of gears and what seemed like an eternity till this truck started pulling up next to us. Now, keep in mind, these are quite windy roads with the hills, so overtaking isn't recommended, especially not that slow, but this truck took its sweet time until it was right next to us. It was one of those car hauling trucks, and it has 2 levels, so it can carry cars on, and it had chains all over the sides that were slowly clinging and clanging, loaded through the night, clinging and clanging through the night. The back of the truck where the cars get loaded appeared bent out of shape, and the metal was rusted and held together by pieces of wood, and loose torn bits of fabric were blowing in the wind. I was terrified. I shifted my attention to the cabin. Black as the sky that night and no driver in sight. I'm not making this up. We saw nobody. The truck pulled up in front of us with a groan, and it didn't seem like it could speed up anymore. Now we were behind this terrifying mess of a vehicle, and my dad started getting impatient. We started overtaking the truck and checked again for life inside the cabin as we passed. Nothing. Once we were in front of the truck, I noticed the headlights getting ever dimmer and dimmer, and when we picked up speed, so did it. The lights kept dimming until there was just a spark left. And this is where I got convinced something supernatural was going on. We were driving on a hillside and a bend was coming up. Not a tight one, but if missed, one would go straight off the road and down the hill as there were no barriers. Oh my God, there's the break.
Oh, wow.
I'll keep reading this on the other side, folks. We ran into the break. My apologies, but we'll continue in just a couple minutes. Don't go away. ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're in the home stretch here, as it were. Just wanted to take a moment, as I mentioned, our good friend Mr. Nate Rudd is here watching the show, and I wanted to point out he and his son Corey have the Washington, Idaho Bigfoot Search group on Facebook, and you can check it out and look into what they've been doing and where they've gone, things they found, and also some links to other people's work and research. So some pretty cool stuff going on there, and I hope that Don and I can join them this summer. That would be outstanding. I hope it's a real flat, plain kind of thing. I'm just saying, not that I'm not capable, but oh my God, wherever the flat mountain is, that's where I should investigate.
And Nathan coming in with a big 63 Canadian dollar message saying, "Good evening, everyone. Happy Saturday from Canada. Always enjoy your streams on YouTube."
Oh, very cool. Thank you, sir. Woo! Very cool. We love your support. Thank you so much. We appreciate it a bunch, and we'll do our best to earn that. No, I'm glad you like the shows. Thank you. That means the world to us. Oh, Trace. Wow.
Whoa!
Woo. It's raining up in here. It's starting to rain up in here. Thank you so much. That's really cool. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, it's great if that's possible for you. If not, please know that there's many ways you can help us here on the portal. One of which is just to hit the thumbs up, hit the likes, so that it moves us up in the algorithm for getting recommended, and also to leave a comment on these videos when you check them out. If you're not watching the live show, that really helps us a ton too, is just leaving comments. Also, feel free to share these to your social media. These videos shared in your social media would go a long way as a personal recommendation to people that are on your page. I know for me personally, if somebody I know and am friends with says, "Hey, check out the show," I'm probably going to check it out. I know that word of mouth is by far the best advertising. So anyway, anything you guys can do, we sure appreciate it a bunch. But thank you so much for your generosity. That's outstanding. So we were into this story before the break just flew up on us, and it's about some people, a guy and his son, I assume, that went to Namibia to recover a truck because they rent out 4x4 trucks. Well, it broke down. They went down and picked it up, and they're on the drive back, and they had this weird lights behind them, and that's where, when they slowed down, the lights slowed down. When they sped up, the lights sped up. And finally, they slowed down enough to get this truck to overtake them, and it finally did. And as it came alongside of them, they could see nobody was driving it, or it's very dark in the cab, absolutely pitch black, like there's no lights. The cab, or the truck itself, was it was a car hauler, the double-decker car hauler, and it was in absolute disrepair, falling apart, rusted, wrangled metal, like the metal was all bent up and stuff. So it's a very creepy car with like fabric flying off of it and stuff, or streaming behind it as it's going. So it, by all accounts, sounds like a ghost truck, So
held together by duct tape.
Right. So they had just gotten to the point where they just passed it again. It says, now we're behind this terrifying mass of the vehicle. It says, once we're in front of the truck, I noticed the headlights getting ever dimmer and dimmer, and when we picked up speed, so did it. The lights kept dimming until there was but a spark left, and this is where I got convinced something supernatural was going on. We were driving on a hillside, and a bend was coming up. Not a tight one, but if missed, one would go straight off the road and down the hill as there were no barriers. We go around the bend slowly, considering our heavy load, and the truck just goes straight without hesitation. We both saw it drive straight off the road and down the hill, where at the bottom it finally got to a stop and all the lights died. We stopped at a rest stop for the night and head back there that morning to have a look if anyone was hurt or if the truck was there. It wasn't, and there were no tracks or broken bushes where we saw it go off the road. That was by Mr. Money Badger. Wow. So it was a ghostly vehicle. That's crazy. But they actually saw it go off, and they saw it going down the hill. They saw it come to rest, and the lights finally went out completely. That's all kinds of creepy.
That's freaky, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's not what you like from your traffic. I like my traffic to be absolutely fully manifest in my reality. None of this halfway stuff.
Long stretches of road would make things entertaining.
Yeah, but do you realize you say entertaining? What kind of
I say
entertainment
that
do you
here
need?
in the comfort of my own home and not out there. I know.
You got your computer bravery cooking.
Yeah, I do.
You got your internet courage cooking, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the world's full of those. But I'll tell you what, if I had a spectral vehicle doing this and following me, I'd be probably recreating all kinds of Picassos in my drawers. You know what I'm saying? That was, okay, it was funny in my head. Whatever, man.
Can't press the crickets button. Sorry.
Is that better? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good thing your camera's not on. All right, so let's continue on. We're going to hit one more of these, and then we'll go on to the next few reports from Phantoms and Monsters. Number 14. This is why we needed better electric cars. I was driving from Dallas to Tuscaloosa, left at midnight, and drove straight through the night with two friends passed out sleeping. It was probably 4 a.m. and I had like a quarter tank of gas. Oh, I thought we were talking about electric car here. Okay. Which translates to about 100 miles. And I see that the nearest town is about 90 miles. So I'm pretty worried about making it. Before I hit that town, I run into a tiny town that wasn't on the map. A few houses, a gas station, a convenience store, and that was about it. They actually said a convenient store instead of convenience. Anyway, just kind of makes me chuckle. I walk into the gas station and hand the guy $50 so I can fill up. He was a really tall, skinny guy, like skin wrapped around bones level skinny. Probably 6'5" or at least, and he just had this eerie look about him. He looks at me, leans over the counter, scans the outside, and looks back at me. He hands me my $50 back and a hat that says, and says, "Look, you look like a nice young fella. You don't want to be out here at this time of night looking like that. Put the hat on, get to your car quickly, and get gas at the next town." I was super confused and just said, I don't have enough gas to get there. That's why I'm here. I didn't even know this place existed. He responds, "It doesn't. There's 2 gallons left in this can. Just drive another 15, 20 miles out and use those 2 gallons. But please, you need to move now." At this point, I stopped questioning him and left. On my return trip, it was daytime, so I wanted to stop back in and return the can with 2 gallons in it. But wouldn't you know it, couldn't find the little town again. It's like it disappeared over the weekend. To this day, I refuse to stop in small towns that aren't on the map. I think that's probably a good rule of thumb. I have no idea what that gas station employee was trying to save me from, but he pushed me out of there with some urgency and even gave me free gas to do so. That was by _Shelly or Selly. Okay. Well, there you go.
Gas station.
Gas station stuff. I'm telling you, it's been the gas station night, hasn't it?
This is the gas station.
As we move into travel season, right? Well, not that anybody can afford to get anywhere anymore, but at least in spirit, people are starting to drive and travel in normal times. But anyway, we got to get to some Phantoms and Monsters. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
Well, so do I. So we're going to go over to Phantoms and Monsters again. This is a site owned and run by our friend Lon Strickler, who's been on the show a few times. A great guy and just a wealth of knowledge. But he has this site, phantomsandmonsters.com. You should check it out. Not only as a repository for great stories, but he has some research efforts that they're coordinating out of Phantoms and Monsters as well around the nation. Dogman, Mothman, and several other research endeavors into the cryptid and paranormal fields. So definitely cool. So stop into phantomsandmonsters.com, help support what he's doing. And you can also catch his podcast. Lon's podcast is called Phantoms and Monsters Radio. It used to be called Arcane Radio, but it's been rebranded now. So definitely check it out. He just had Ken Gerhardt on there last night. In fact, at the same time my show was going on, which is like, oh, dang it. No.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn. But this is a time slip story. This is kind of the time slip night.
That is.
I've seen people disappear twice. Time slips, I've seen people disappear twice. A Melbourne, Florida resident recalls 2 occasions when they literally observed people disappear. In one instance, they were with someone else. Could these be examples of time slips? I've seen people disappear twice. Once, my dog and I were walking across a set of soccer fields on our college campus, and I noticed that about 60 feet behind me, someone else was crossing the soccer fields. Nothing unusual about this, as it was a college campus after all, but being female, I'm especially vigilant about keeping an eye on people behind me. My dog noticed the guy too, but didn't really react oddly. Suddenly, he just wasn't there. My dog froze. I froze. He was gone. No trees or objects to disappear behind. We were in the middle of a group of soccer fields, and suddenly he was gone. It gets weirder. Several weeks later, I was in front of a 7-Eleven store at the edge of campus, Florida Institute of Technology. There's an intersection near it, and the road that crossed the road the 7-Eleven was on has a sidewalk along it. The sun was setting in the direction of the crossing road, but you could see a guy about 500 yards up that road walking towards the intersection. He was just a tiny shadowed figure against the setting sun. There were a couple of people a little closer than he was, also walking in the direction of the store. My dog froze, and her hackles went up, and she started snarling. I've never heard before or ever again seen her react like this. She was staring directly at that tiny silhouette, going nuts. She ignored the other people walking toward the store. She was clearly staring at the more distant figure. Oddly, I wondered to myself if it was the guy we saw disappear. Don't know why I thought it. It had been weeks since that episode. I tried to get my dog out of there. She was a Great Dane mix. Wow, that's a big dog. Huge, and she wasn't budging. And to tell the truth, I wanted to see who it was. I had the oddest conviction that it was the guy who had disappeared, but by the time the guy got close enough for me to see who it was, my dog was straining at the leash, snarling and snapping at him. I had to pick her up and stagger off with her to get her out of there. It was indeed the same guy. He gave us a dirty look and entered the store. He was Middle Eastern and kind of on the small, slender side. Not a physically imposing guy at all, but my dog behaved like she wanted to kill him. It's the only time in her life I've ever heard her growl, let alone snarl. The second time was also in Melbourne, Florida, just as the above incident. My friend and I were driving over the bridge across the Indian River toward Melbourne, my friend at the wheel. We saw a guy in dark pants and a blue jacket step off the curb of the walkway along the side of the bridge, walk into the middle of the road, and disappear. Neither of us said a word. My friend finished driving over the bridge, pulled off the road, and sat there for a moment, then said, Did you just see that? I said, The guy in the blue jacket who stepped off the curb, walked into the road, and disappeared? Yeah. We decided to drive back over the bridge to see if he had reappeared. He hadn't. It was near the water, so we considered the possibility of a mirage, but the conditions weren't right, and it was odd that he was perfectly synchronized to the curb if that was a mirage. The next day, she brought it up again. She decided we must have been mistaken, and I still know I saw a man disappear. This is in the early 80s, and my friend and I are still in touch. Time and distance have made it easier for her to accept, and she still sometimes asks if I remember the man we saw disappear. That close to water, I guess we can't rule out a mirage, but as I said, conditions weren't typical for one, and his movements sure look synchronized to his surroundings. I too wonder about time slips. My first post above was about something that happened with my sister that was along these lines. We both sometimes wonder if there's another dimension somewhere where we disappear, or maybe the us from this dimension is there instead. Very weird. I read somewhere of an incident where an airline flight disappeared off the radar for 10 minutes over Florida. Air traffic control was frantic, trying to figure out where they'd gone and if they'd crashed. 10 minutes later, they were popped up in the same exact spot in the air that they were when they disappeared. The people on the plane had no perception of a time loss. I haven't researched it, so I don't know how true that is. Somebody by the name of F. Well, F is for fantastic story. That's pretty creepy. I don't know. Yeah, again.
I mean, I can appreciate that they're trying to debunk it just in case, but I don't think a mirage is gonna, have a full-on person with different, clothes that you can distinguish and all that on.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's another one of those things that it's kind of a standalone event. Like, again, tonight is full of events that you can't just pop into a category. Is it a spirit? Is it a person? Is it a human being? Is it some other form that looks like a human? Is it extraterrestrial? What is it? So there's no saying for sure what these people are experiencing. You just can't put it in the normal categories because they're very unique. I think, again, these stories pop up, but I've never talked to any one of these people, nor anyone else that I recall that's had an experience quite like this. But I think that they're fascinating. Again, I really, really find these fascinating. All right, let's go to another one from Phantoms and Monsters, and this is U.S. soldier describes creepy incidents in Afghanistan. This is another one from Phantoms and Monsters. When was this? Oh, April 1st, 2022, so yesterday. A U.S. serviceman was stationed. Oh, thank you, Gigi.
Gigi!
Still hoping for reaching 10K subs, Toga Party.
Don't worry, Gigi. I have confirmed I will be wearing a toga for this party.
You have. Yeah, Sheldon's hosting it too. All by himself. I'm not getting in a toga. A U.S. serviceman was stationed and on patrol in Afghanistan. He describes two creepy and bizarre incidents that he's never been able to explain. More strange accounts from Afghanistan. Two accounts of the most scared I've been, both while stationed in Afghanistan. First, late 2011, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. I was standing post at a small 8-man patrol base at about 2 a.m. in the morning. Again, with these early morning hours, huh, Sheldon?
No kidding.
Yeah. Post consists of 4 plywood walls, bulletproof glass, and sandbags. And I'd been up there for about 24 hours at this point and was starting to hallucinate through my NVGs. I'm not sure what NVGs are. Mildly seeing school buses and the like, all of a sudden, bang. I first thought it was a round hitting the bulletproof glass. I realized about a second later that it was a rock. Immediately on high alert, adrenaline flowing, I scan the area with mini thermals and get no heat signatures from anywhere. The strange part was that we had double stacked razor wire about 30 meters out from the post, and it was all open ground for about 30 meters past that, so any rock thrown would have to have been amazing. I call up the COC and had them use a big thermal camera on a stick to scan the area in case I'm missing something. Well, they got nothing. At this point, I'm kind of freaking out, thinking there was something out there that I can't see, but they can see me. 10 or 15 minutes go by, and I'm starting to relax a little bit, thinking maybe a bird flew into the glass or something like that. And all of a sudden, bang! Again. This time it sounded like 2 times louder. I get the feeling of pure terror and feel the adrenaline rush through my body. I've got my rifle at the ready, PEQ laser, and looking harder than I've ever looked before at every piece of microterrain that a human could be hiding behind. And I can't see anything. I'm freaked. Still don't know to this day what it was, but it scared the hell out of me. My second encounter is early 2012, still in Helmand Province, but on a different, bigger patrol base, 13-man plus, Afghan National Army platoon. Around midnight on post, this patrol base had a gravel lining the whole grounds to keep dust down. It was poorly built defensive position with blind spots everywhere. I was 6 hours into an 8-hour shift when I heard some gravel crunching just below my post, which is about 10 feet back inside the wire blind spot. Very unusual because we had early AM patrol and everyone but myself, the other post stander, and the one guy on radio watch in the COC were sleeping. I call out, "Who is that?" The crunching stops, and I get no response. I use my radio to call COC and ask if he was walking about. He tells me no, so I ask him to come check this out. I make sure to tell him to be careful coming around the corner and have him keep his rifle up, weapon light on, and pop the corner. As I see him walking out of the COC, the gravel crunching sound picks up again, but this time rapidly, like someone running, and once again, high alert, adrenaline flowing hardcore. And I'm thinking, we've got someone inside the wire, so I start yelling, "Stop, or I'll shoot," in Pashto, Afghan language. The sound stops, and my radio watch pops the corner, ready to shoot, and nothing. There's nothing there. So once again, I'm freaked out. He chalks it up to me being paranoid and the lack of sleep, but I'm not so sure. About an hour later, happens again, almost exactly the same way with nothing being there. I have the radio watch, wake up my buddy. He stands on post with me for the last hour, which passes without incident. I still have no clue what it was. A kid inside the wire somehow? A cat? A dog? A ghost? Who knows? All I know is I've never been more scared than those two incidences. I'll bet. Yikes.
Yeah.
That is way creepy. All right, then we're going to go to the last one here, and this one's a little different. This one sounds like something more like a UFO-y kind of thing. This is from March 30th, 2022. Helmeted, silver-suited humanoid exit craft in Seville province, Spain. A group of young men observed a hovering craft while in forested area in the province of Seville, Spain. Later, the helmeted alien humanoid wearing a silvery suit exits the craft. The witnesses ran away. On one Friday in late November 1978, evidently November 24th, the four witnesses plus another friend were hunting just east of the Guadalmar River in the area between the towns of Garina and Aznalcóllar and the Olivares in the province of Seville, southwest Spain. They each had 6 battery flashlights. The night was dark, without any wind, with good visibility and temperature, under a rather cloudy sky. One of the friends decided to return to the car, so he saw nothing of what subsequently happened. The area of observation is approximately 6 degrees 20. I don't know what these mean. These longitude, latitude things.
Yeah.
20 feet west longitude and 37 degrees 30 north latitude. It is the part of the estate La Pisania, 3 kilometers, 2 miles southwest of Garina. Its principal characteristics are low hills with some farming, clumps of eucalyptus trees, vegetation located especially near the Guadalmar River, the remains of a Roman aqueduct, and beef cattle. The place where the incident occurred is very dense grove, primarily eucalyptus trees with some open areas inside. Our 4 witnesses went into the thick grove. After wading across the stream, it was about 3:30 a.m., and they had been there several hours already, and using their powerful flashlights continued looking for their prey between the trees, following a road made by tractors. But let witness Manuel Guerrero tell us what happened. While still on the other side of the river, I told the others, "Wait a moment, look at the red lights of a car." The gypsy who was with us, who could not be interviewed, began to say, "Hey, what is that? In my mother's name, in my grandmother's name, what is that? That is a strange thing. We were seeing it on the ground in the distance. We put out the flashlights and approached. The closer we got, the more light was seen. And then I thought, well, it isn't a car. If the car had its back to us, we would have been looking at the drivers. But since we were walking, it was not logical for it to be always red. Then we threw it off the track. A little. We crossed the river to the other side where it was. We began to hunt and forgot what we had seen. Enthusiastic in what we were doing, I was practically alone without hearing any of the others. I shone the light here and there and didn't see anyone. I turned off my flashlight and whistled for them to answer, and they then turned on their flashlights, and I said to myself, there they are. Because with the trees, no one could be seen. Then they came quickly and asked me, "Hey, didn't you see that again?" I really hadn't seen it until they told me about it. What we had seen from the other side was still in that place. There was really a light there, and then I told them, "Are we going to get closer?" And they were very scared. The red light was there, and it was doing a strange thing as if it was shaking. Then I told them, "Watch me from behind. I'm going to get a little closer." The trees did not let us see in the place completely. Another companion wanted to approach with me, and we went on ahead of the other two. There was a person or something walking around it. I'm not going to be able to make it through this. There's no way. Dang it. Well, nope. I'm gonna put a link of this into the chat, and you can read it yourself at your leisure. And there's the one in there, and then I'll put one in the YouTube chat for those of you that want to finish the story. It sounds really interesting. It's again, looks like a UFO was landed there and they saw themselves an alien. Is what I'd say. What would you say, Sheldon?
Sounds about right to me.
This all sounds about right to me too. I'm gonna have to finish reading it myself, so I didn't pre-read it. So there you go, folks. Always running into the bells here on the portal, but I will tell you what. Just remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.
Hold on, it's fine. Let me change yours
Nope,
because
we're
I'm
okay.
deaf in one ear.
Okay.
But I have to tell you, we totally got cut off when you were talking. So I'm putting in. I probably will unplug.
Are you there?
Hold on, I hear you now.
Okay, good.
Hold on, I'm gonna go.
We're getting it all
Okay,
worked out, ladies
speakerphone.
and gentlemen. We had a phone call.
Now
at
we're
the end.
normal.
Okay, good.
Brent,
Yes.
you got Trace. Remember me from Squatch? Year
Yeah.
before last.
Yeah.
David. Yeah, the blonde girl.
Yeah. I remember you.
Yeah, I told you about some things.
Yes, exactly. I remember you. Yeah. From Squatch Fest, yeah?
Well, I've been keeping it. Yeah, I've been keeping it quiet because it's kind of hard these days.
Okay.
The reason I got excited is because you were talking tonight about all these infiltrations, about different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to tell you the weirdest thing happened to me last night.
Oh. Wow.
So, yeah. No, it's in the line of what you're talking about. So I have a bunch of stories to tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm a super private person, but I have to tell you this.
Okay.
So Rich and I are in the gorge. We just came down from Mount Hood. We're spending the night. We're doing a bunch of shit for business.
Uh-huh.
And we have a few, beverages. We're hanging out. We come back to our abode. And I walk in, and there's a dude standing there, right?
Okay.
So the people that own our Airbnb,
Uh-huh.
do I get to tell the story? Are you going to listen? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I have to spill it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's what happened. So we walk in, and the people that, you know, we're renting with are amazing humans.
Uh-huh.
They're beautiful, awesome people. And and my husband's like, oh, you know, let's just go to bed, blah, blah. And we do. And I look over my shoulder and I see this gentleman that looks like a person I never met before in my physical life. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm used to seeing ghosts. I mean, we were going to talk about, we'll do this later.
Sure.
But anyways, this just happened last night. So I look over my shoulder. I'm like, what? And I look back at my husband. I'm like, okay, go to bed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, like we're drunk.
Yeah.
We're not drunk.
Okay.
Anyways, we finished that. I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs and get some hot chocolate. And I look at this gentleman and God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm saying that. I know
It's okay.
you people that I know, you know me, but let me just like express my feelings.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This gentleman is not a ghost. Okay. I've seen ghosts.
Right.
I've been haunted. I've seen every fucking shit you've ever seen in your life. You and I could probably we could probably do the Deschutes in a rowboat
Mm-hmm.
and fucking just be fine.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
I looked at this guy and I'm like, oh my God, he's from Norway. He's like 6'6". He's got his wool coat on. Like, Brent, if you and I stood in a room, I could draw him.
Okay.
Every fiber on his body I could draw.
Wow.
And I look at him and I go, like, do you recognize me? Because I kind of recognize you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not a ghost. You're like in physical form. And he's like, just shook his head. And I like walk back upstairs and I'm like, I take care of Richard. He's Scottish, so he sees that shit all the time. And I was like, oh, I have to go back down. I have to make sure this is reality, because I thought maybe someone like slipped me a Mickey or something. Like I shouldn't see this.
Uh-huh.
So I walked back downstairs and I'm like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
All of the people that run this place are gone. This is the man standing in the middle of the room, and he looks at me and goes, hey, Trees. I go, how do you know my name? And he just shrugged his shoulders. He goes, what do you want? And I go, I would like some hot chocolate. He goes, you always say that.
Oof.
It was the weirdest crap.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. So let me tell you what he looked like, Brent.
Okay.
Here's what I'm telling you what I'm seeing. And I've never told anybody. This is on air for the first time. Never told the story in my entire life, but to you, because you and Sheldon and Dawn are the only people I trust.
Okay.
Aw.
Well, thank you.
And this just happened last night. I'm not telling you about the other crap.
Okay.
I looked at him and I go, like, I'm in shock. Like, I'm seeing someone who walked. Like, he like came to see. I've never met. This guy died 3 years before I was born. I was born in 1969. He died in 1967. He was 20 years older than my grandmother. He's my mom's dad. And he was standing there. He's Norwegian. He came through Nova Scotia. He went to Alaska and then came through Tacoma, Washington, PNW all the way. And he's a blacksmith. And he's just standing there like apparently he was an alcoholic.
Oh.
He didn't look alcoholic to me he looked like a perfect human.
Uh-huh.
And I even reached out and touched him. Like I touched his coat. So he had this 3/4 length wool blue, navy blue. He was a Navy person for Norway.
Mm-hmm.
He's Norwegian. My parents are Norwegian. My mom's Norwegian, not my dad. He's French. Those Frenchies. Be very careful.
Okay.
I'm joking. I'm sorry. I know I'm rambling on. I apologize for this.
Well, it's very interesting.
But oh my gosh, you guys! So when I went back downstairs and he stood there and I said, "Can I have some hot chocolate?" He got me the hot chocolate. This guy filled half the room, like our condo, it's probably 8 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and he's 6'5". at least. Well, I always knew I could see pictures of him, but he didn't look like the pictures I saw before. He didn't look angry or weird. He looked like a gentle soul. And his beard was as long as his breast, like where your nipples go. That's how long his beard was. No, I'm not joking.
No,
but
I know.
was his coat. But his coat was so well made that the blue navy wool fiber and his pants, I mean, he was spot on. And I knew I saw him, and I went back upstairs, remember? I wasn't joking. Yeah. I went back down, and he stood there. And here's what you don't know, but he does know. It's my daughter is getting married in July. Oh. And I think he made his presence known because he knew that she's doing that. But anyways, but he wouldn't go into that. He didn't speculate. He just looked at me and he said, "Here's your hot chocolate." He handed it to me. This is the best ghost story I've ever had. I've had so many nightmares. Mm-hmm. I've been a night terror child my entire life. You guys can all speculate. Mm-hmm. Wow. But this beautiful man showed up just to let me know he was still about. Oh. He's still about.
Yeah.
And I was and here's the weird thing, Brent, is I stopped because I knew I wasn't a dream. I was physically taken. I took my hot chocolate and I looked at him, looked behind the desk. I looked at the front room and everything. I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And the minute I asked that question, he backed up. And then I pulled up, because when I went back to my condo, I pulled out the invitation to my daughter's wedding because I wanted to show him it, because I knew who he was. Right. And I went back and I pulled it out and he backed up again. He's like, "I can't touch. I already touched you. I'm not going to touch that." Oh. It was the weirdest shit ever. It was dimensions. Mm-hmm. It was when you go to high school and you do a play and they pull the curtains back and forth.
Yeah.
It's like he pulled the curtains forward and just backed off. Oh. And I was just left to go like this. My mouth is open going, holy shit. Wow. I just saw somebody I've never seen in my living life.
Yeah.
He died 3 years before I was born. My mother, he was tyrannical Norwegian in our life, a tyrannical, apparently, according to my mom. Uh-huh. We don't even know what's true anymore when it comes to history. But I was like, holy shit, he touched me before. So he actually, no, I've seen ghosts. I mean, we have talked about this. We're not going to talk about it here, but this just happened last night. That's why I had to call in, because I would always leave this stuff never to talk about. But this is my grandfather.
Wow.
He touched my hand.
That's amazing.
He touched my hand.
Did it feel like just
a veil?
Did it feel like a regular touch, or was there anything remarkable about that contact?
Here's what okay, great question. It felt like a brush of it. No, he did touch me. He didn't hold my hand.
Sure.
It's like, how you brush up with somebody in the, I don't go to the subway, but if you're somewhere and you brush up against someone.
Sure. Yeah.
It kind of felt like that, but it was more meaningful because he knew I was in shock, and I was recognized, my brain was processing, I know that guy. I know his beard. I know his coat. Mm-hmm. I know his body. I know the human, but I've never had physical contact with him before.
Right.
And it's kind of like he made his presence known. That is the key I want to make clear. When people have those experiences, when an entity on the other side, it's called making your presence known. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting super excited talking about it, only because I have so many heartbeats, to catch up with.
Sure.
The reality of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But, and I looked at him and I questioned before he touched me. And he only touched me when I asked for something he gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And he touched me like a brush. And then I realized, holy shit, this guy has not been on Earth, or he has been on Earth, but he's not in my dimension.
Right.
This is my mom's dad. He's 20 years older than my grandmother. He's been dead since 1967, and he just showed up to tell me that I'm his granddaughter, and he doesn't even know me, but he likes me. My daughter's getting married. What's he going to do in the future?
Right.
Like, I need Evel Knievel, man. I need God on earth to protect my daughter moving forward. And I'm like, this dude shows up, and he's 6'6". We knew he was big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's what I thought to myself, Brent. Here's what I thought. God, nice beard. Nice coat.